What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003 and starting to get cautiously optimistic about this Pistons team. December 15th is 4 days away. That's an important day for the NBA because that is the day that a lot of players become eligible to get traded. So in today's video, what we're going to do is run through a few players whose names have been floated out in trade rumors and just talk about if we think it would be a good idea for the Pistons to potentially acquire them. Not going to go into the specifics of what it would take to get them back, just kind of talking from a 100-yard view of what it would look like if the Pistons went after them. So we're going to go through 4 players that I do not want to see the Pistons go after, and then 4 players that I would be open for the Pistons to go after. And then at the end of the video, I kind of just want to give you my insight and thoughts on the Pistons making deals this year in entirety. So to hop right into it, the first player that is in trade talks right now that I think is just out of the question and I wouldn't want here anyways is Jimmy Butler. Fantastic player, fantastic career. He is 35 years old. Does not align with our timeline whatsoever. If he was 28 right now, I'd probably be chomping at the bit to add him onto this team and help our defense even more. That's already greatly improved. But at 35 years old and the contract he's on, that's just a no bueno. So moving on, the next player I do not want the Pistons to go after is Kyle Kuzma. I really don't have to say too much here. I think I'd be hard-pressed to find too many people that do want the Pistons to try to get Kyle Kuzma. Not really sure what's going to become of his career and the rest of his time in the NBA, but just don't think that that's even a realistic fit with Tobias Harris here right now. I think even Tobias is the type of player that just fills his role at as good a clip. So, yeah, no Kyle Kuzma for me. Moving on, the next player is going to be Brandon Ingram. So, this is a tricky one. Brandon Ingram is on an expiring deal, so if the Pistons were to go out and try and get him, we would have to do so on the premise of extending him. There's 0 point in getting a 1-year rental for the Detroit Pistons out of Brandon Ingram. That makes no sense whatsoever. So the reason why he falls into the category for me of a guy who I don't want to see the Pistons acquire is because we would have to commit long-term money to him, and I just don't think that he is a good enough fit alongside Cade to do so. Now, I understand the Pistons have lacked talent for a long time on this team, and Brandon Ingram is unquestionably talented, but I just don't think it's the right guy at the right time. I think that he'll contribute to wherever he goes, but I don't think the best place for him is Detroit. It just doesn't seem like a great idea. He's not even old, but it's just not the player I want to go after. I feel like it would be too heavy of a commitment for where we are at in our process currently, and it could cause issues down the line because say we extend him for 4 years or 5 years after we trade for him. At that point, the end of his contract, he'd be 33 years old, right around the time that Cade is probably in his prime, and that could cause problems because I just think that it's not a great fit right now and definitely wouldn't be in, say, 5 years. So the last player that I don't want the Pistons to target is going to maybe surprise a lot of people, and that's Dennis Schroeder. The reason why I say it's maybe going to surprise a lot of people is because a lot of people who are Pistons fans like the idea of adding this guy onto the team. It's no question the Pistons have a turnover problem, and it's no question that Dennis Schroeder is a valuable veteran point guard who can distribute the ball. Dennis Schroeder has had a very good year so far for the Brooklyn Nets, and I think that just what it would take to get him and bringing him in for what he would do on this team isn't a great match. I've talked about in plenty of other videos. I have a whole video on why I believe Cade is a point guard and should not be moved off the ball. So if we were to go to get him, I think that bringing him back would either cost too much or not be the right fit because I would not want to see him in the starting lineup and closing lineups with Cade, taking him off the ball. Just not a fan of the idea in general. But that's neither here nor there. That's kind of a bigger talking point about the Pistons needing a point guard to hang on to the ball. But I've made other videos on that. I just think that at 31 years old, Dennis Schroeder, what it would cost to get him and where he would fit in with our backcourt currently, not a great fit. So now we're moving on to the players that I would be open to the Pistons to trade for. Guys who I would like to see on the Pistons team if the price was right. First one's Herb Jones. The Pelicans have been in a lot of talks about trades currently. We already talked about Brandon Ingram. And the cool thing about it is Trajan probably has good relationships with all those guys. Of course, he was in New Orleans for the past 5 years plus, and he probably played a part in drafting Herb Jones. Herb Jones, lockdown defender. Fred Vincent apparently fixed his jump shot, but he hasn't been hitting them this year at a very great clip, despite it being a small sample size, so not going to read too much into that. But at the end of the day, Herb Jones is a lockdown defender. Love guys that can do that. And if they can shoot the 3 too, that's a great player to have. I've said it a million times on this channel, and I will continue to say it. You can never have enough 3-and-D wings, especially when the D is at the level of Herb. Pause. But yeah, moving on. Next player, same category, same team. Trey Murphy. Another guy that I'd be open to because, again, he's a 3-and-D player that capitalized the 3 for him. He's really a knockdown shooter. I think that he would fit in perfectly in the starting lineup right now next to Cade, Ivey, Tobias, and Duren at the 3. I just really like Trey Murphy's game and think that his age, his demeanor, and everything about Trey Murphy as a player is a perfect fit for the Pistons. Unfortunately, the price for him would not be cheap, so not going to think too hard about it, but just saying, if you slotted him in at the starting small forward spot for the Pistons, I think that makes the team a lot more scary. So, moving on, next player that I would be open to is going to be Nick Claxton. Another Brooklyn Net, another team that has been in a lot of trade rumors and seems to be looking to offload some players. Nick Claxton, great rim protector. Jalen Duren hasn't really shown us that consistently. I think that his ability to be a lob threat is similar to Duren, but the fact that he can hold it down at an elite level compared to Duren, who is a below average level on the defensive side of the floor, would be a great improvement at our center spot. And moving on to one more guy who is a long shot, and that's Jarrett Allen. Reason why I say it's a long shot is because the Cavs are 21-4, and I'm sure they probably don't want to mess with that. But the reality is Mobley and Allen, not the picture perfect fit or most conventional fit together. The Cavs really balled out last year when one was off the floor and the other one was not on the floor. So in the long shot hopes that the Cavs really go downhill in a hurry and their franchise decides that maybe Mobley and Allen aren't the best fit together, Jarrett Allen brings all of the same stuff to the table that we just talked about with Nick Claxton, but probably at even a little bit higher of a level. The dude is a former All-Star. So, yeah. To kind of talk about the Pistons trade outlook in general, though, of course, making this video, don't do this often, but I don't think the Pistons need to be that eager to make trades. Reason being, a couple different reasons. Number one is the Pistons can't trade their 2025 first round pick, their 2026 first round pick, their 2027 or 2028 first round pick. We cannot trade our pick for the next 4 years until that pick that we owe to the Timberwolves now converts. What needs to happen for that to happen this year? The Pistons need to be not the 13th pick or below. They need to be 13th pick or higher. In that case, the pick will go to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then we don't have to worry about the trade restrictions, because the reason why we're restricted on those is because you can't trade your first round pick in back-to-back years. So hypothetically, we can't guarantee this pick is going to convey. Therefore, we can't trade next year or the year after or the year after that, because this pick could roll all the way to 2027. And if the first round pick conveys to the Timberwolves in 2027, that means we can't trade 2028. So the Pistons can't even trade first round picks right now. And I know that a lot of people are going to fight me on that regardless and say, well, even if we could, we shouldn't, because first round picks are so valuable. But at the end of the day, with a team like we have right now, with Cade, Ivey, Duren, Ausar, Holland, all being lottery picks, eventually you have to kind of trade some of your picks and go get somebody to add to that core, especially if none of them besides Cade are going to break out to a true all-star level. So, long story short, the Pistons don't have the ammo to go get any of these guys, really, that I do like. unless Trajan can pull off some miracle that I don't foresee. And that's the reason why I haven't thought too long and hard about any of these trades or any of these names, because not only do I think it's the right decision, I think it will be the decision for the Pistons to not make any major shake-up trades this year. I think Trajan wants to evaluate the guys he has in the locker room right now, see where we land this year, and then maybe make some choices in the offseason. A couple players that I do want to touch on that I didn't even mention in this video quickly. Zach LaVine, reason why he wasn't on the list of players that I don't want to see the Pistons trade for is because that's beating a dead horse. If Zach LaVine was going to be a Piston, that would have happened ages ago. He's not going to be a Piston. Second name that's not on the list of players I would like to get is Lauri Markkanen, and that is because he is not trade eligible until this summer. But Lauri will forever be the guy who I think would be worth going more or less all in on a trade for the Pistons. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch up soon.